Hi. Okay, you've got to make a girl feel welcome. Hi. How are you all doing? Good? Hasn't it been an amazing start to the afternoon? Firstly, I want to congratulate you all for coming out, because being here today is going to change your life in some way, shape, or form. I can guarantee you that. Don't you feel like you've been changed already just by hearing other people's stories and people sharing? Amazing. So, I am Kelle Bryan. I was born in Plaistow Hospital, and my mum and dad, Marilyn and Terry, they are second-generation immigrants from the Caribbean. Yes, that's right. Don't worry, we can be a little interactive. It's okay? Right. And so when I was born in Plaistow in the 70s, you can imagine what it was like, right? So racism was rife. You know, I'd go to school and get spat on. I was the only black kid in my class, and it was what it was. But what was interesting about my upbringing is I had a grandfather who had come over from the Caribbean, and basically he came with nothing. He was unable to read or to write, and he bought a house for £5,000, and eventually, once he passed away, that house was worth £750,000. Props to you, Granddad. But what Granddad taught me is that he could come here with nothing and hand on so much, right? So I was just so proud of him, so proud. And when I was 2.5, I was taking part in a junior Miss World contest. Right, I know. And I don't even know, I won the contest. Thank you very much. I'm not really sure what I did to win. I've asked my mum a million times, "Mummy, what did I do?" She said, "Well, you kind of just walked up and down, turned around, and came back and had a little sash on." I've still got the sash and the little swimming costume that I was wearing. I know, crazy. So, and I won. But at that contest, there was a lady called Yvonne Dearman who taught at a local dance school. Big up to local dance schools. So basically, she said, came up at the end and said, "Your daughter's got some talent." My mum was like, "Yeah, I'm still trying to figure that out." And she said, "You know, I teach at this school called Italia Conti, and it's a performing arts school in London." And my mum's like, "Yeah, right. I can imagine how much that's going to cost." But my mum was one of those women that was determined, and she was a real fighter. And so through her determination, we applied to our local council, that's Newham Council, and they gave us a scholarship. And I auditioned, and I got into Italia Conti. Amazing. It felt amazing, because all of my peers and people around me were getting pregnant, having babies, or in jail at that time. So I was like, this is good, right? So I'm at Italia Conti, and I'm rubbing shoulders with people that I've seen on television. You know, people from EastEnders and Naomi Campbell. I had her book. I was like, wow. I kind of touched it quite a lot. That's a bit weird. But anyway, so I was able to be exposed to different things, a different life, and a different culture. And I thought, wow, this is amazing. I'm here. This is great. And at school, I met a girl called Louise. Oh, come on, Louise. Redknapp, that's right. So I met Louise Redknapp at school. And we were really good pals, and we used to hang out. Anyway, there was this time that we went to a club underage, not that I condone that or anything. And when we were at the club, there was this guy, and he came up to us, and he said, "My name's Dennis Inglesby, here's my card." And he gave it to us, and I was like, "Oh, Lou, you know he's trying to pull you, right? He's not really a record producer." Long story very short, he was a record producer. And he called, and he said, we called him, and he said, "I'm a record producer, and I'm putting together this group. Would you come down and meet us?" And she did. She went down, and she met Dennis, and he was lovely. And then they needed another girl for the band. She's like, "My best friend, she sings really well, and she dances too. Maybe you should meet her." And so, eventually, Eternal was born. Thank you for that. And so I'm in this band, and I'm thinking, you know, I'm 15 at the time. I'm like, you know, my school was like, "You need to stay and finish this and do that." And I was like, "Yeah, see you later, I'm going." But I didn't actually know what I was going to do. So it just seemed like a really good opportunity. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to take that. And I thought, hanging out with my really good friends, singing and dancing, great. Sounds like it ticks all of the boxes. Well, it wasn't as great as I thought it was going to be. Yeah, I was traveling around the world and I was meeting amazing, famous people. And, I met the Pope and he was great. And, I met Whitney Houston and she was amazing. And we'd be taking this jet set lifestyle, private jets and this and that and the other. And it was amazing. But at the root of it, at my heart, I wasn't really appreciated in that band. In that band, I kind of lost myself, lost who I was, lost my identity. I kind of felt like I was there because, as I'd overheard someone say before, oh, she's the pretty one. What does that mean? What, I have no talent, no skill, no ability? When I was at school at Italia Conte, they used to say to me, well, you're too fat to be a ballet dancer. You don't sing well enough, but you're okay at acting. And I remember that kind of stuck with me. When a teacher tells you something and there are these teachers that have this kind of, authority over you, you kind of take that on board. And it kind of took me right back to that place of feeling like no one, nothing, and no good. And in the band, I was really sad a lot of the time. So I was, out front, I'd be smiling and, ka-ching, ka-ching, red carpet, doing my best to hold it together. But inside was the same little girl that was born in Plaistow Hospital, feeling trodden on, stamped on, and not very good about myself. And so I was made, it was in the papers, someone came to me and said, oh, it's in the papers today that you are a millionaire. And I was 21 at the time, and I'm like, what, me? They're talking about, I'm a millionaire. Like, yeah. And it's not something you really think about, or you kind of put a medal on your wall and say, look, I've done this, I've achieved that. Because I was so sad inside, that outside it didn't really make any difference. So yeah, I had a nice car, I bought my mum a nice car, I went on nice holidays, I had nice clothes, and I lived in a nice house. But none of that meant anything if inside you're broken. And then one day, I got a fax sent to my house. Those days, it was the 90s, right? So excuse all those under 25s in the room. So I got a fax sent to my house. And the fax said, as of this date in 1998, you are no longer a member of the band. Okay. So I read this fax, and I'm like, sorry, I didn't have a backup plan, right? I didn't go to university. Remember, I was told, you can't dance because you're too fat. You can't sing because you're not that good. And I'm in this band kind of feeling like, okay, well, they sing better than I do, so I could just kind of maybe go along here and do my best, right? And I'm told that I'm sacked. I have no backup plan. And so from that day forward, I just hid myself, basically. Didn't really want to see anyone, didn't really want to talk to anyone. And it hurt a great deal because it was a public sacking, right? There was no hiding. It was in the papers. Everywhere I went, that's what everybody wanted to talk to me about. Everywhere I went, that's all that was on people's lips. Oh, you got the sack. What did you do? Did you do this? Did you do that? So anyway, you'd think that was bad enough. One morning I woke up and I couldn't bend my this finger. And I was like, this is really strange. But I thought, I've probably just slept funny on my, like when you put your arm under your head. And I thought, maybe I've just slept awkwardly and it'll be fine. But that finger became a claw. My hand was permanently like this. And I thought, this is not right. And I went to the doctors, and unfortunately, GPs didn't understand what was wrong with me and said, why don't you just go home and take paracetamol 3 times a day? You'll be fine. Ever. So this hand became a claw, and then I lost the ability to move my right arm. And then I started to develop ulcers in my mouth, on my arms, down my legs. And the ulcers in my mouth were so many that I then couldn't eat properly. Have you tried to eat with an ulcer? So my mouth was covered in ulcers, and I couldn't really eat properly, so I lost a tremendous amount of weight. And then I get, invited to things like, do you want to come to this premiere, Kelly? Would you like to do this red carpet? I'm like, no. Right now, I'm not in the place. I felt, dirty, contagious. I didn't really want to be around anybody, far less walk on a red carpet. And those ulcers that were on my face They were open, pussy wounds that just kept oozing and wouldn't heal. And that was the same in my hair, in my ears, and down my body. Eventually, I was diagnosed. This is after a very long time and the disease spiraling out of control. But eventually, I was diagnosed with systemic lupus erythematosus. And I remember the moment so vividly. I was in hospital, and there were a row of doctors in front of my bed. And I'd been in hospital for a while because there's no one definitive test for lupus. And so they were all lined up at the end of my bed, and they said, right, Kelle, we've got your final diagnosis. You are diagnosed with systemic lupus erythematosus, over my head, right? It's systemic lupus erythematosus. You won't be able to have children. You'll probably end up in a wheelchair, and there's no cure. No cure. I've never heard of this disease, and you're telling me there's no cure? Funny enough, what I said was, well, great, because that's going to be somebody else's diagnosis, because I'm getting on a plane and I'm going to record my solo album. And the doctor looked at me again and said, Kelle, I don't think you're taking in the severity of this condition. And I said, yes, I understand the severity of this condition. However, that's not going to be my story. So from then on, that day forward, I was determined to drive forward and move forward. And the worst of the disease was just last year, when my daughter, Kaori, came home from nursery with a cold and gave me a kiss. And when she kissed me, she had a common cold, but it was meningococcal. So 48 hours later, I was taken into intensive care with pneumonia. What the doctors didn't know is that lupus had gone to my brain. So I lost the ability to speak, to walk, and to function for myself. And I'm saying this today not because I want you to feel sorry for me or feel bad, but it's to know that if I can overcome something, so can you. That if just 8 months ago I was sitting in bed, not able to communicate my thoughts and my feelings, that you can overcome anything, anyone, and any challenge that you face. Yes, I'm a fighter, but I'm no different than you. My story is no different than yours. Yes, it may be different on a scale, but it's no different in terms of your pain or your journey or the challenges that you have to face. So I stand here not as a martyr or somebody to be pitied, but I want to stand here as an inspiration. When I was told the title of the theme of the TED Talks today being Think Again, I was like, yeah, that's right. Because I want to challenge you. And I'm not being rude by disassociating myself from whoever is to hear this, but I want to challenge you. This is just me and you talking, me and you sharing. I want that when you leave this room, that you'll take something with you, some little piece of my energy, of my giving to you today, something that will challenge you to think differently. This here is a sand timer. It's a sand timer. It's an illustration of time. Because that's actually all we have, and that's the most valuable thing that we have is time. Now, these moments that we spend here together, we will never, ever get again. these moments, these precious moments that we're spending and watching go before us, we will never have again. And I knew that was going to happen. I'll try again. If at first you don't succeed, all right. So, the word think. Say it together. T. T for truth. What is the truth to you? Now, the truth is really simple because it's only as big as you give it permission to be. Now, my truth was, you're not skinny enough to be a dancer. You're not good enough. You'll never make it. And that was my truth. Not anymore. I'm here. I'm alive. I'm doing very well, thank you very much. What's the truth to you? What is your truth? At least make it a story that is suitable to who you are, to who you were created to be. H. How about? It's a great phrase. So when life throws stuff at you and you feel like you can't go on anymore or you've hit a brick wall, I suggest you use this phrase, how about? So, okay, maybe you can't do this and you can't do that, and maybe you've broken down and your car has got no petrol in it and you've got no money, even if there was a petrol station nearby, and it's getting dark and your phone has run out of a mobile phone signal or out of battery. Then what? How about I walk to the end of the road where I can see the light on and ask somebody for help? Rather than feeling like you're trapped, how about? Next letter, I. Thank you. I can. It's one of the most powerful affirmations. I can. And even if you're afraid, I can. It's something that you can, I know it's an affirmation and people go, woo, yeah, I can. But what if you can't? I didn't have a voice to say I can. I wasn't able to speak. But I thought, I can, I will, I can. And I remember there were times where I'd be on my face and not able to do anything. But I kept whispering, I can. The brain is an amazing tool. It will go off and find you a way to do what you ask it to do. Have you ever bought a new car and thought, I've got the most exclusive new car, it's amazing, check me out. And then the minute you buy it, you see them everywhere? Right? That's your brain. Your brain's amazing. So give it a command that's useful to you. Next letter. Sorry? That's the one. N. Not anymore. Not anymore. I was trodden on. I was abused. I couldn't walk. I couldn't speak. Not anymore. Just because you are where you are at this moment, it doesn't mean that you have to stay there or remain there or be there, or that label has to stay with you the rest of your life. It doesn't. So when somebody wants to speak down to you, tell you you're nothing, or tell you you'll never amount to anything, or say this or say that, that was me. Not anymore. Next letter. Now you're getting it. I'm loving you. I just love that. Can I do that again? Next letter. Woo! I love that. K, my favorite letter. Ketchup. I know. You were expecting something deep and mythological or something. But ketchup is a condiment. It is used to add to something, to enhance the taste, or make it better. Right? What's fish and chips without ketchup? Right. What's the ketchup in your life? What when you add it to something makes you feel better? For some girls, it's a new pair of shoes, right? For maybe a massage, or maybe an extra long bath, or maybe a holiday in Barbados, or maybe just hanging out with your girlfriends and watching your favorite movie. But whatever adds to your life and enhances it and makes it better, do more of that. So, I've just spent 5 minutes of time with you. And I've loved every moment. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. I've been Kelle Bryan.